we live now. Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours, keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
All right, and we are back at it again. Thanks to everybody who joined for the PWCC Premier Auction, extended bidding, and now we are going to get into an episode of After Hours with John Wie from Center Stage. Let's bring him out. No big opening speech from me. Let's bring out John Wie. There he is. Let's make this an official After Hours episode like that. John, how are you? What is going on?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the time today. And, I was just backstage commending you for your stamina. That was a lot of fun content. And definitely excited to talk about some of those auction results. So
well, I appreciate you mentioning the stamina, because that was a 3 hour and 10-minute episode. That's a long time. I can feel it in my throat. I can feel it in my voice already. But hey, this is fun. I love doing it. So let's keep going and let's have a show, and let's focus on you and Center Stage. And I want to introduce you to the audience, anyone who hasn't met you yet or isn't familiar with Center Stage. I know I've seen there are already some comments. I want to thank the guys that came in early, and sorry for the delay in getting started. But there are some comments. People have seen you at shows. Someone else mentioned to me, I forget who it was, but I told him you were coming on. It's like, oh yeah, I met him. He's a cool guy. Like a lot of nice comments out there for you and for Center Stage. And we'll get into you in a second. But I did notice I've been watching the show on Instagram on Burbank Sports Cards channel called The Card Shop. I think that's what they're calling it. And they're up to 13 or 14 episodes now. And there's one episode where you have a big segment on it, because I guess you just happened to walk in at the right time. So, before we get into what Center Stage is and about you, talk about how did you manage to get onto that show with Rob Veras at Burbank Sports and really have a whole segment of their show dedicated to you and Center Stage?
Yeah, I think that was a very serendipitous occasion there, actually. So, I've been, friends with Hannah Chang, or she collects cards for, about a year and a half now or so. And, I had originally visited Burbank Sports Cards early last year when we had a prototype of the app, and we kind of gave them a quick demo. But it wasn't very good at that time. This time around, we were visiting LA. We were just kind of going there for personal reasons. And I met up with Hannah. She agreed to kind of facilitate another introduction to Rob and the team there. And we were able to get a warm introduction, talked about the app, and they just so happened to have a videographer there. I believe his name was Brian. Got to speak with him, and they liked the opportunity for the content. And ultimately with our app, we're trying to grow the hobby by bringing great technology to the masses, right? So just very lucky. I think it was just natural.
And what was the response you got? Like, did your downloads go up after that episode aired on the Burbank Sports YouTube channel?
Yeah, there's definitely an uptick. It wasn't like all of a sudden, but I think with their channel, they've been growing their following, I believe, as well too. They have a tremendous shop. I love just spending hours there, just looking at all the different cases that they have. But they're definitely growing their following on YouTube as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough lucky to be able to go into that store a couple of weeks ago. I had a very quick trip into LA, and I went to the shop, and Rob gave me the whole tour, got to meet Ryan and see everyone else there. And it is a great store. I mean, I think Rob said there's 39 showcases, and they are all filled with singles. And I have to tell you, the singles game is something that I think LCS owners and LCSs just don't focus on enough, generally speaking. So when you can find an LCS that has a really good singles selection, and they know how to play the singles game, because the wax game is, to me, it's not all that exciting as a customer. I want to go look at singles. And, in Calgary, we have a shop called Eastridge, and he's got a lot of singles. Mike, who watches the show, he's got a great singles selection. And then there's Darren, who has Maple Leaf Sports, and he doesn't have as many singles, but he's very good at wax. So, there's something for everybody. But I love a shop that has a lot of singles. And I don't know if there's a single card shop in the world that I'm aware of that has more selection than Burbank does. I was blown away. I could have spent 8 hours there. I think I spent 2, and I tried to see every card in the showcases. But shout out to Burbank, and we'll see him at the Mint Collective. You're coming to the Mint Collective next weekend, yeah?
Yeah, I'll be there with my wife and a pretty large team, actually. We're excited to be there, and we'll be on the floor kind of demoing our app. So yeah, can't wait. Looking really forward to it. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you there. And we didn't meet at the National last year, did we?
I saw you, and I was a little shy at the time because that was back when we had a prototype, and we were actually showing it to potential investors back then. But I wanted to have the product in a finished the app in a finished product before showing it to you. So this time around, yeah, I'm excited.
It's so weird for someone to say I was a little shy. Like for me, like holy crap, what have I done here where somebody would be shy? But hey, please, I hope nobody is. I just want to meet everybody. So too bad we didn't get to meet, but we'll meet next week in a few days. So that's really cool. So well, listen, I'm glad you could come on the show. I know we've been talking about it, and I've been kind of, I don't remember how I first heard of Center Stage. Maybe I don't even remember how I first heard of it, but I've had it downloaded on my phone for quite some time. It's, it's right there, Center Stage app on my phone. It looks like the logo on your shirt and on the YouTube thumbnail for the show today. And I've mentioned Center Stage on the show a few times, and I think you noticed it once, and you were like, and I mentioned it, and you kind of thanked me, and I'm, oh, he's even watching right now. Like that was kind of cool. So I guess we've kind of been aware of each other's activities lately, and it's good to have you on finally and hear you talk about Center Stage. So before we do, we're gonna go to the comments. There's a few people have some questions for you, a few comments. So let's run through them, and that we're gonna learn a bit about your history and really what Center Stage is and what your vision is. So Brian Basketballs thinks he met you at the Dallas show last month. Trade Night says met several of the folks that worked for you. I was trying to sell them on your app before I looked up and saw that you had that there was a Center Stage T-shirt on. That's pretty funny. Were you at the Dallas show yourself?
I unfortunately I wasn't able to make it. I was at the Culture Collision show in Atlanta the week before, but we sent the team with Daniel, Nate, and Shuping there at the show, kind of representing the company. So glad they had a good time there, and glad you were able to meet them.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. Tanks, we didn't talk about VFriends tonight, and no, I haven't decided what to do. I haven't received my box yet, but when I do, I'll be sure to keep everybody posted for sure. Brian says, I just wish I could have caught it on film. I was too busy laughing at the reactions I was getting on the dozen cards from Topps Wayans Brothers, Yo Mama Jokes. It's pretty funny when you're trying to sell somebody on a product and they are the people behind the product. So that is pretty funny. Mark Santucci's here. Good to see you, Mark. Steve Foley, founder of Trade Safe, says, hello, John. Welcome to Sports Cards Live. Thank you, Steve, for welcoming John to the show. That's very nice of you. Yeah, you like the Rays. So you're in California. Why are you a Rays fan, or are you just like the hat?
No, so my close personal friend actually plays first base for the Rays. So I've been following his career. So I was a Mariners fan first, Yankees fan for about 6 games, and then since then I've been a Rays fan for the last few years. So,
yeah. What's the player's name? Your friend?
His name's G-Man Choi. He actually invested in our company in our first round last year, and I have a game used bat here. I have a game used glove here, and his shin guard and all that kind of stuff, as well as a big PC of his cards as well. So, yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Tom Bullard, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Matt Pine, what's going on, Matt? Good to see you. Says tough night, got outbid on the Barkley Star. Congrats to the buyer of the Orr in a 7, probably a 2 to 3 return within the next couple of years. Yeah, that was a beautiful Bobby Orr, Matt, and that was CS who bought that. So yeah, I thought that was a great buy as well. Tyler says Ryan's interview with Sasha T the other day was so good. Basically said he had to talk his dad into selling singles. Well, he did a good job of convincing him because they're doing a great job at it now for sure. And the Luca show says Center Stage team, great group of people. Nice to hear. There you go. Some good feedback for you, John. It's always nice when you hear that people like your team. And then finally, Steve Foley says, John, we need to bring you back to the Yankees, but Choi is amazing to watch at first. And Steve is in South Florida. So there you go. He's a fan of your buddies, but he's a Yankees fan first. So maybe we need to convert him into a Rays fan again. Jake, what's going on? Good to see you. Had to watch the Zags game. Whew, good stuff. And Purple Haze, nice to see you as well. Well, John, you're a collector. Tell us a little bit. I mean, I always want to know when somebody enters the hobby with a business or as an entrepreneur takes that route within our hobby, our industry. I always want to understand what's your hobby background, just to get some context, get to know them. So why don't you share with us what's your collecting history, your hobby history before you decided to launch a company?
Yeah, so collecting history actually goes a while, but there's a huge break in the middle, like a lot of others who've come back into the hobby. But I collected in the mid to late '90s, back when I was in high school, and I was a big Kobe Bryant fan. Collected a lot of his cards. I just had a draw to him, and I was actually fortunate enough to meet him in Korea. Like I was there for summer vacation, got to meet him. Ever since then, I continued collecting his cards until I got back into college. And then, after his passing a couple of years ago, that kind of got me back into wanting to go home and find those cards and start, looking for other cards of his. But then that kind of snowballed into, wanting a Zion Williamson rookie card, and it just got caught into that whole mix again. So, and now here I am with, probably hundreds of thousands of cards in this room and in the closet next to me, and yeah, just love every bit of it. So I'm very thankful to be involved in the hobby now.
Are you still collecting? Do you have a PC that you're adding to and constantly sort of looking for cards like many of us do?
Yeah, I'm trying to, right? So a lot of the times I've been going to card shows and looking for opportunities to trade for cards. I'll buy a card here or there, but trying to conserve money because I have a lot of cards I need to move and trade first. So maybe trade safe is something that I could use in the future to get some of my grails.
Right on. Well, I'd love you to use trade safe, definitely. And let's talk about your team. So talk a bit about what caused you. What was the catalyst? What was the aha moment where you realized that there was an opportunity for a service or a product like Center Stage? And because not everybody watching may be familiar with what Center Stage is. So first off, I would encourage you. Now, it's not available on Android at this time. Is it coming on Android in the future?
We're hoping to. So we're going to start recruiting Android developers soon, and we're hoping to bring that to life this year. So.
Okay, so hoping for that this year. If you are an Apple customer, I encourage you to download the app. It's a free download in the App Store. Go download that. But why don't you take a few minutes and explain what Center Stage is, what it does, what some of the use cases are for it?
Yeah, so simply put, I mean, Center Stage ultimately is a computer vision and machine learning company, kind of building software for the hobby. We've released an app originally back in late October where users can just scan a card, raw card or graded, and just see recent comps for it. Back then it was just on eBay. Since then we've kind of expanded to other marketplaces. As of now, users can just scan a card and add it to their collection depending on the grade, and kind of track their values moving forward. It's a very simple design. It's simplicity by design, really. Like, we wanted to make it very slick and easy to use. Ultimately, kind of the way it was born was ultimately when I got back into the hobby, I just realized there was a lack of technology out there, right? So, when I started collecting those Kobe Bryant cards and getting those Zion Williamson cards, I went to spring training for the Tampa Bay Rays in Port Charlotte, Florida, and I was at their stadium, and they were selling cards. And this is kind of silly, but I was able to get a 50% discount on Topps boxes because my buddy played for them. So I was ripping through packs, and I had pulled a couple of autographs, and I was wondering how much they were worth. And I realized that you're supposed to type into Google or eBay every single time and look up the value for every single one. And it was just insanely tedious to do that, right? So I knew that was a big pain point. Originally, the idea for Center Stage was going to be around computer vision aided grading, right? So I wanted to be able to tell if a card's worth grading to kind of measure the centering. So kind of similar to what Genimint had been advertised to do, but realized that that kind of serves a smaller subset of the grading, or not the grading, but the hobby, and ultimately the pricing aspect of it and being a quick reference or a resource was much more important. So we've kind of developed this computer vision app that people can just use to get quick comp values, to save time and be able to go through more tables or more boxes at card shows or at shops like Burbank, right? So that was ultimately the goal, and here we are. It took a long time though. It took about a year and a half to develop the app. So yeah.
Well, that's still pretty solid. You mentioned you had some funding rounds. Can you speak to your funding? I mean, there are other entrepreneurs in the hobby, including myself with TradeSafe and my partners there, and the funding thing is something that we'll likely be looking to explore. how was that process for you? How easy was it to secure funding? What were the challenges? Can you just sort of freestyle on that if you can?
Yeah, so it was a fun process. It was a big learning process for sure. One thing about kind of raising funding through venture funding is being pre-product makes it really challenging, right? Because people have to believe in your vision, and then people have to believe that you're able to build it and execute and build it, right? So the technology that we were advertising really hasn't been done before in a commercial sense. So, luckily we were able to demo it at the National actually, and then we had one of the larger firms called Slow Ventures invest. But ultimately, we were able to raise about 1.2 million late last year, and actually we're kicking off another round of fundraising now. So there's going to be a lot of meetings in Vegas that we're looking forward to. But yeah, it's a challenging process because you get rejected. You kind of have to take the feedback and iterate off of that. But it was a humbling experience. But luckily we have great investors involved, so very thankful for that.
Awesome. I just want to shout out Eddie from Investicard. We are live from Sports Cards Live, not Investicard right now, but Eddie, welcome and good to see you. I want to know the name Center Stage. Can you please explain how you landed on that name and what the meaning behind it is as it applies to the product and the technology?
Yeah, so we had a bunch of different ideas around the name, but with Center Stage, we realized that we want to ultimately become the central hub of the hobby, right? So we have really big aspirational goals, but Center Stage is also kind of an homage to Upper Deck being kind of an area within a stadium or within an arena, right? And Center Stage is it's the basketball court, it's the soccer pitch, it's the football field, right? So we just wanted to kind of reach a little bit there and kind of keep it as open as possible, right? Because there's a chance that we might look into other industries as well, but for now we love sports cards and we want to make sure that we benefit the hobby by helping it grow.
So when we talked earlier, you mentioned that you feel like you guys are sort of unique in the space because of the technology. Mm-hmm. So, and you mentioned earlier just now that when you noticed that there was a lack of tech in our space, can you just sort of expand upon that and why is tech so important, and do you see any other areas where there's maybe a gap in terms of the tech within the hobby?
So for our technology, I can kind of explain how we differentiate ourselves, right? There's a lot of like traditional image search where users can take a picture of a card and upload it to a server. That company kind of retains your data and kind of can spit back out information, but it takes a lot of bandwidth actually. So Vivino is a wine sharing, a wine app where you can scan a bottle of wine. It kind of gives you that information. But for us, we're able to scan the card and it's almost taking the bandwidth it's actually taking less bandwidth than actually typing the card name into eBay, because you're loading a lot more images and results in eBay. But for us, we have it packaged in a really compact way. In terms of like technology in the space, I actually love seeing new companies come about. I love the fractional aspect of fractional companies coming out. I love, the idea of trade safe, just kind of benefiting the hobby overall. I think the hobby has been really antiquated for a long time, and I think it's just been ripe for disruption. And we're hoping to find other areas that we can innovate, right? Because we want to provide that value for everyone. So can't really name anything right now off the top of my head, though.
That's fine. No problem. And then I wanted to ask you, so I used to have a Google Chrome extension called Slab Watch, which would help me find sold prices and that. What's your relationship with Slab Watch?
Right. So Slab Watch was created by two brothers, like here in the San Francisco area, Daniel and David. Daniel works at Google and David's a developer. And we were able to get connected, and we actually ended up hiring them. So we brought them on board. They had some data from eBay, including card pricing for a couple of years, and vast knowledge about the hobby, right? Because I had a lot to learn, right? So we were able to bring them on board and kind of start building towards this vision. And a year and a half later, we were able to release the app. So it took a while, but they're part of the family, and very thankful for that.
That's really cool. Let's go to a couple of comments here. First of all, Politas13 wants to know if you can have my autograph in Las Vegas. Sure, but no inscriptions. I'm tired of doing inscriptions. I'm just kidding. I've never been asked to do an inscription. I think this might be the second time I've been asked for my autograph. So Thank you, Pilitas. Mark says, John, do you like older cards of the 70s or just the late 90s? Do you like basketball cards and hockey or just basketball? Or baseball cards and hockey or just basketball?
I'm a picky collector. I have been doing a lot of ultra modern, just because of the time I got back into the hobby. But I like collecting Kobe in the late '90s, and I do a lot of baseball, but mostly collecting my buddies' cards. And unfortunately, Wander Franco's on. Well, not unfortunately, but Wander Franco's on his team, so I can't really chase any of his cards right now because of how expensive those breaks and boxes are for Tampa.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Lucky K says, what's the ultimate goal and the application for Center Stage? I feel like we've talked about the application since Lucky put this question up there, which was about 4 minutes ago. But yeah, go ahead and maybe just reiterate what's the ultimate goal for Center Stage, and if you can summarize the application of it again.
Well, ultimately, the goal of the for the app or the company as a whole is to just grow the hobby by just providing technology that makes everyone's lives easier, right? So, I've been to card shows where I would sit there and go through a box and type in 100 different cards into the app to find the value of it before deciding if something's a good deal or not, right? So, we want to eliminate that friction to make it a lot faster to go through things. Kind of having an easier way for people to do prepare for card shows if you're a dealer. But ultimately, we want to become the central hub from where people start, right? So we want people to be able to share their cards, look for other cards from other collectors, and get connected to people who have it, right? So, here's one aspirational goal that I have on my end. I've been hunting a very specific Contenders Kobe Bryant autograph from the last 1920 set, and it has a very unique image. It has a image of him wearing a wristband. And this is kind of going off on a tangent here, but he has an image of him wearing a wristband, and it's an image from 1999. And I actually gave him a wristband set back when I was in Korea, like right behind my finger there. And he signed one, and then he kept the other one, and he said, "I'm going to wear this for good luck the rest of the season." So I've been hunting that card for a long time. So in my ideal scenario, I would love it if that someone were to scan the card somewhere else, I could be notified for it and I could make an offer and make a trade for it. So that's the ultimate goal. So discovery, sharing, all that kind of stuff is something that we want to bring to life here.
That's really cool. That's cool. I love that you have a personal story to go along with your ultimate goal. Well done. Well done. Brendan Ryan says, I like what I'm hearing. Eddie at Investicard says, great app. My team has been using it. Goes on to say, would love to sit down and meet in Vegas to discuss opportunities to work together. So there you go. Absolutely. Very nice. Very nice. Lucky K says, how do you look to generate money? Revenue.
We haven't thought too far into it, right? We want to provide search and that search functionality for free. But, on top of eventually doing trades on our platform, advertising through our platform is something that is definitely a viable option. But luckily, our investors aren't hammering on us to start generating revenue yet. So hope that continues, right?
Yeah, I think once you have enough eyeballs on it, the revenue opportunities just sort of come, and whether it's advertising or partnerships or what have you, definitely something there. I think it would be really cool. Speaking of partnership, Eddie at Investicard is obviously his I think his brain is always thinking and coming up with ideas. Mine too. I mean, with TradeSafe, if you're gonna have people doing transactions based on finding cards through your app, I'd like to think that TradeSafe could be the one backstopping those trades and take that off your plate. And maybe there's a partnership opportunity for TradeSafe and Center Stage as well. So we'll definitely look forward to introducing you to the TradeSafe team at the Mint Collective next week and seeing if maybe we could join Investicard and Eddie and figure out a way to do it too. Oh, look at this. Ben Mitchell just downloaded the app. That's awesome, Ben. Glad you were willing to do that and to check it out. So good stuff. Very, very good stuff. Skeppy says, how do you take in negative feedback and turn it around to positive result? That's a pretty general question. I don't know if you want to take a stab at it, but we can also ask Skeppy to clarify or expand on the question. How do you want to move forward, John?
I think we scour the web, really scour social media just to take any sort of feedback, because any sort of constructive criticism is good for us, right? So we released multiple updates to our app and took customer feedback to heart, right? So we're just actually trying to implement any sort of changes and suggestions that people make, and we have a lot of updates coming. So roll with the punches, I guess.
Good, good. Rock Latex in the house likes my shirt. This is a Gretzky. I think this would be a Topps copy because there is no yellow dot on the shoulder here. It's also trimmed. I don't know if you can see how narrow the borders are, but this is definitely a trimmed card. So I will never sell. I will never sell this card. Plus, it's been attached to my shirt, so I don't know why anybody would want it, but I will definitely not sell it. But Rock Latex, good stuff. Congrats on your 79 tops back from PSA. How did it grade? Mike at Eastridge wants to know, will it show best offer prices? So I think if it brings up some sales prices, will it not just show the asking? Will it show what the card actually traded at?
Yeah, no, so it will. And one extra kind of feature that we recently added is if you scan a card, you can actually click the price of the transaction if it's in blue, which means it's within the last 90 days, and you can actually verify the transaction. Oftentimes, when you start clicking through them, you'll see that they are best offer sold prices. So the price that we display are the best offer sold prices. Yeah.
No, I wanted to ask you this earlier, but I'll ask you it now because I just looked down at my notes. And so when I was getting to know you, you told me that you had a history working in the gaming industry.
Mm-hmm.
And what comes to my mind when I think about it is gamification. Do you have any plans to gamify Center Stage? And yes, however you want to answer that, please do. But then also let's talk about how your gaming experience is translating into the hobby and your Center Stage app.
I guess to answer the latter question, I would say, yeah, my game experience back in the early 2000s was I did actually drop out of college for a couple of years to pursue my professional gaming. So I played Counter-Strike 1.3 to 1.6 and competed in international tournaments here and there. But it kind of taught me how to kind of build teams and maintain camaraderie, I guess. But for that, because of that whole background, the whole gaming environment really kind of benefited me. So the gamification aspect is something that we're definitely looking into. We want to add kind of incentives for people to scan more cards, to have more cards added to their portfolio, things like that, and build from there. But we're just looking to make it a fun, enjoyable experience so that people kind of keep coming back to the app and finding use and utility out of it. So, yeah.
Right on. And someone asked a question a little bit ago about feedback, and I want to just dig into that a bit more because I think it's important, especially as we're starting up in this. You're starting your company in this hobby, and you're going to get a lot of feedback from people because that's what people in this hobby do. You're going to get good feedback. You're going to get positive feedback. You're going to get negative feedback. You're going to get constructive negative feedback, and then you're just going to get some destructive negative feedback too. It happens to everybody, right? But there is a comment here that Brian Basketballs make that it is some feedback. So I just want to bring it up. He says, if the app had a plugin that would transfer the title of the card to a listing of, say, eBay, charge a small fee, I would use the app to list my cards. No charge for the idea. Thanks for commenting. No charge for the idea. Very generous, Brian Basketballs. But so I want you to first of all address this suggestion. If and if it's an idea that you like, that's awesome. I mean, and no charge from Brian Basketballs, which is very generous of him to share his idea with you. But first of all, let's start with this. Is this an idea that you've already thought of? Is this something that you're thinking of for the first time now that he raises it?
No, it's I appreciate the feedback for sure, or the suggestion. We have been thinking something around those lines. Luckily, we've been talking to eBay as well. They've been very friendly with us, and they understand that our technology is very, very new and revolutionary, as cliche as that sounds. For now, actually, with the app, that if you scan a card, you can actually just tap and hold the name of the card, and you can copy and paste it to your clipboard. So that actually kind of lifts a little bit of the extra work. So people might find that useful. But we will add some other features that may make everyone's lives easier. So not sure about the timeline, but it's definitely something that we're working on.
And then let's just talk about feedback in general. Like, are you looking to solicit for feedback on the app? Like, if people are going to be downloading it tonight, like Ben Mitchell did, and I'm sure a couple more people have, are you looking for feedback? How do you want to receive feedback on the app? Are you hiring people? Kind of speak to those if you don't mind.
Yeah, so ultimately we have an email address, feedback@centerstagehq.com. So if you email us, that gets distributed to the greater team. I haven't mentioned yet, our team is up to about 30 people right now with full-time and part-time employees. So we have a large team of developers, quality assurance people that are card experts, We are constantly hiring. So if you're a software developer, if you're an Android developer, that might be really helpful for us. But yeah, we'd love to have more people jump on board. We have a lot of hiring needs coming up. So.
And then feedback in general, just send it to the feedback at Center Stage. What was the email? centerstagehq.com?
Yep. Feedback at centerstagehq.com. I would say if it's positive, maybe leave it on the App Store. And then if it's negative, no, I'm just kidding. But
if it's negative, just send it straight to us.
Yeah.
You guys also follow the app and John via the app on Instagram. It's on the ticker right now at Center Stage HQ. Here we go. Steve Foley, founder of TradeSafe, says he likes my thinking on the partnership. Yeah, I thought that was a good idea too. Mark, no Calgary shirt tonight. Are you talking about because the Flames won the game tonight? No, I don't. I'm not. I'm wearing a Gretzky shirt. I figured there'd be a Gretzky rookie on the PWCC auction, but I realized that there wasn't. But anyway, wore my Gretzky rookie shirt tonight. Another suggestion, Bob's Big Boy says, have you ever thought of implementing a card show element to the platform where buyers and sellers could connect on PC cards through the app while at card shows? He says the National is archaic, time is money. So, I mean, the National is archaic. I don't know what you mean by that exactly, Bob's Big Boy, but I think you might mean that there's just no tech behind the show itself. And maybe that's a gap and an opportunity for Center Stage to jump on. So, John, please address that suggestion, which I know I'll let you take it because I have a bit of insight into this. But
yeah, no, absolutely, that's definitely in the works as well. We would love to have a way to kind of allow users to build quick inventories for a card show before a show, and then actually kind of publish it so people can kind of figure out a strategy behind where to go to. Like, I was at the National and my feet hurt just from walking back and forth on the show floor. And I was, back then I was on a hunt for a Contender Zion autograph, right? But had no idea what table had it. I would ask people if they've seen it, and that people would point me in a general direction, right? But for us, I think that is that discoverability that I was talking about. That if dealers can do it before a big show, and you can actually kind of advertise where you're located, that's probably the next best step, right? And then if pricing can be listed there, and there could be negotiations, I think that's something that we really want to bring to the hobby. So, thank you for that.
Yeah, good stuff. Rock Latex 7 is a pretty decent grade. Congratulations. Brendan says, the hobby opens up so many doors for tech to do great things. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Alf, yes, it is only on Apple. They are striving to have it available on Android by the end of the year. They are hiring some Android developers to get that done. Eddie wants to know, when searching raw cards, how does the technology distinguish numbered or parallel cards from base cards?
So ultimately, like the way the app works, it is advanced machine learning and AI. And I know that those terms are a little trite. People are referring to it a lot in the hobby these days. But the AI has pretty much seen all these cards from different angles, from different pictures that people have uploaded to the internet, right? So the more times a specific parallel has been seen, the more confidence it has at being able to determine, hey, this is a pink ice Luka Prism rookie card as opposed to a pink fast break, right? I would say from a confidence level, like some of the higher end parallels might be tougher to distinguish, but we're working on it. And the more partnerships that we have with high-end marketplaces, partnering with a company like PSA or Cardladder or anybody else would be really beneficial for us. And we're hoping to provide that value back to the other companies as well. So it's learning constantly.
And that's the thing, right? It's not going to be perfect right away. It's going to take some time to develop, but the more users you have, the more images you capture as well, right? So that's going to help it get better as well. Skeppy says, how do older vintage collectors react to the app? Are they receptive to the concept and uses?
We've seen a mixed reaction. People with iPhones will see it and see an immediate benefit from it. They think it'll save them time. Some people have been a little bit cautious. They're like, hey, it's a free product. What are you getting from us? But, our app doesn't require you to create an account or log in. You download it, you see a camera right away, and we don't take any of that data. So, we're trying to ease everyone's concern that way by providing the service for free. So.
Okay, well, that's always good. I know, especially, the older generation is a little bit more paranoid, if you will, about sharing data. Those who are even thinking about it, I guess. So fair, very, very, very fair. Todd McDonald says, just download the app, scanned a few cards, works well. Very interesting. That's good to hear. And then we did Investicards. Lucky K says, I just tried using the app for the first time. Overall, I really like it. One question though, some cards, it only showed one recent sale, even though there are many in the past week. So is that a machine? Is it still learning, or what's the issue there?
So that's a couple of different issues. For us, sometimes the AI doesn't have a good confidence that this card is the same card as another card in the database. So it'll just actually create a duplicate entry. So users can actually swipe through the card results to kind of see the same card every now and then. But we have a large team working on merging those and cleaning it up, right? So the app's going to be a constant work in progress as we move forward. But hope people can bear with us.
Yeah, and I think it's important. I think it's reasonable too for you to actually appeal to the hobby and say, please be patient with us. Please help us. Please spread the word. I mean, you're trying to do a good thing for the hobby, and the hobby can be very fickle at times, but that's not the constructive way to respond to what you're doing. The constructive way to respond to what you're doing, I believe, is to support it and try and, just be as patient as you can be. I liked when we were talking, you mentioned to me that one of the real great use cases you have is if you're at a card show and you're looking to make a trade with somebody in person at the card show, you will be able to use the app to do that. Now, I don't think that's an available feature yet, but is that something you're working towards?
No, not yet. So I'm glad you brought that up, actually. That's the future feature that we're hoping to bring within the next few months. Not sure about the exact timeline, but we want you to be able to kind of build trade proposals based on what you have in your collection, or even just cards that you scan in a temporary list, and then kind of build it out like a fantasy trade where you would see the matching values, and you can have different considerations like, oh, this person's taking a 20% discount on this, and and then be able to facilitate the trade. That way people don't have to just sit there using the calculator app, going back and forth between different, between eBay or 130 point, and we just want to make it easier. So that is something that we want to bring to the hobby. I think it'll benefit a lot of people, especially at trade nights, which have become bigger and bigger, which I love to see. So
yeah, I think there's a good use case there for sure. Instead of having to pull out the calculator and adding things up, and especially if it will help you build a trade and in person, and you can both look at it, and that could be really, really helpful. Brian says facial recognition, the same as QR reader, no data saved. It's safe, y'all. That's pretty cool. Lucky K says, my son and I do card shows. Even though we've priced many items, the app could be used to get quick ballpark price on some bulk. Sure. Up to you if you want to answer this, but Jake says, how many people have downloaded the app so far and use it regularly?
I guess I'll always say not enough, but we've had tens of thousands of downloads. We've actually had over 20 million cards searched through our app since we've launched close to 5 months ago. So
20 million have been searched.
Yeah. We've seen some users. Yeah, for sure. And it started off slowly at first, and then when we started picking up steam, people are using the app more and more. And then we see a spike when there's a big card show, right? So there's a card show going on in Chicago right now. So, we can see that spike like during those card show hours, right? Of all the different searches happening. So it's been very overwhelming, but very validating, right? Which just kind of shows that the app has value and utility for a lot of people. So.
Okay, here's a comment from Justin Vick. I'd like you to address this one. He says, it sounds like this app may be able to weed out fake vintage. Is this a use case you've considered, and is Justin onto something, or what?
Yeah, so ultimately that's something that we do want to consider. I didn't mention it earlier when we talked about it, but the original idea of the app was to call it PSA pre-check, and we wanted to be able to kind of pre-grade the card, the condition of the card, and of which authentication was part of it. It's a little bit more challenging because there's different camera hardware, and difficulties in terms of like user education on how to take pictures, but that is something that we definitely want to kind of bring to fruition. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. If you can get that done, that would be a big win for sure. Okay, and I wanted to go to Brendan Ryan just said this is I don't know what that word is, but I'll try to sound it out. He says not wanting some transhumanistic, not wanting some transhumanistic approach to collecting, but the applications are endless. Do you feel that way too? That the applications are endless with Center Stage?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of potential. We'll take customer feedback and kind of go to where we're needed the most, and we have a ton of machine learning engineers that are ready to build on that. So yeah.
We're getting some good comments here. Purple Haze says, since you are capturing images of cards, any plans to track numbered cards? So, for example, we might know when the one of one superfractors have been pulled or X amount of out of 99s remain unpulled.
Yeah, so that's a great question. That's something that we've been wanting to bring to life. We've been trying to talk with different card publishers, Topps, Upper Deck, Panini, hopefully Fanatics in the future. But that actually provides a huge value, right? So everyone's kind of seeing all the Drake flawless rips over the past couple of nights. We want to add kind of a level of gamification to it. So if you think about a bounty, if you will, so that triple LeBron logo man, if someone were to scan that and we can authenticate it, that person could have offers from auction houses right away, have offers from grading companies right away, but then also be able to record it if they're interested in divulging who they are and that they hit it, right? It'd be like a lottery winner doing it. So these type of bounties are something that we feel can bring a lot of community engagement to it and kind of take everything off of sharing it on Instagram and have people comment on it. We just want to provide value for the hobby. So this is definitely something kind of along the line of something that we really want to bring to the hobby.
Cool, very cool. And then Brian Basketballs says, if you can use video images, you could ask collectors to post videos showing off their sets. Several set collectors would love to have you collect their data. So is that, video, I just know myself trying to capture a screenshot from a video, it's always a little bit fuzzy. It's not a little blurry or whatever. Is that an option for you guys?
It is. Our technology is actually, we're really proud of it, right? So if you saw an early prototype of our app, you can actually just take a video stream of cards just going back and forth. It'll detect the card and just tell you the name up top. So if our application could be layered on a break stream, we could actually see the card being pulled and show the value of the card, at the bottom right corner if you wanted to, and then build out a list of cards that were hit. But that's something that we want to bring eventually, but we want to perfect the search and the results, I think, on the Apple front first, and then bring it to Android and build from there.
Yeah, Brian says frame by frame. So that all sounds good. MLW, hello to you. Thank you very much. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you. And Justin Vick says, I like this comment. We must support this app at all costs, 2 exclamation marks, at all costs. So there you go. Some good support from Justin Vick on things there. Talk a bit about your team. I like, when you're new, I want to give you the opportunity to throw some shout outs at your team. Let's hear some, however you want to do it, but who's on the team? How long have you had some people? Now you don't want to mention some and not others, so I understand that, but definitely let's hear how's the team.
Right. So, my co-founder's name is Suman Kim. He and I actually met through basketball here in San Francisco, and we've become great friends since then. He was a lawyer at a prestigious law firm who had been advising startup companies, and I talked to him about the idea, talked to him about the hobby, about how it kind of had exploded back in 2020, and we started the company and ended up, both of us leaving our jobs in October. Right. So that was a pretty big jump. We have about 5 full-time developers now. We have 3 full-time quality assurance analysts that are card experts. We have about 15 other employees that are doing part-time marketing or advisor roles. But like Daniel and David, like I mentioned with the SlabWatch group, right? So they're working with us as well. But yeah, a lot of engineers with backgrounds from Apple, Facebook, Instagram. So we're very lucky to have a really great technical team who bring a lot of experience and expertise. So, yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's talk about competition. Who, if anybody, do you view to be competition in the space for what you're doing?
I don't necessarily see anyone as being our competition. I think, I guess we might kind of take eyeballs away from a company like 130 Point, where people are kind of typing in, manual searches to find card values. I see value in other companies like Card Ladder or Market Movers, that they provide a level of detail and analytics that the hobby needs, right, for people to become more informed. Eventually would love to partner with some of these companies. I think, if we become the Shazam ultimately, or, just the basic Google search of it, we would love to kind of have that information from these other companies as well provided, because we want to become the source and then help kind of direct other customers to those services as well. So, maybe I'm being a little naive here, but, I hope that, they don't see us as competition. We're just providing technology that, others aren't able to bring right now. Not that it can't be, but just trying to help. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good stuff. I mean, there's lots of opportunity in the industry right now, in the hobby, for entrepreneurs, and it's interesting even being in my chair, because I try and bring on a lot of different people doing a lot of different things, and sometimes you have overlap, sometimes you don't, and it's nice to be able to meet all the different innovators and entrepreneurs and passionate hobbyists and collectors, and be able to bring them to this platform and sort of present them or introduce them to the hobby. And I hope to continue to be able to do that. So glad to have you here. I Collect Ichiro in the house. What is up? What is up with you, I Collect Ichiro? Thank you so much for joining. So the Mint Collective is next week. We're going to see you there. You're going to be there. You're going to have your team there, some of the people from the team. And are you going there? Like, obviously, you're maybe going to have a sit down with Eddie from Investicard now. You're going to meet the TradeSafe team. We're going to meet in person and bump elbows and shake hands. What else are you looking forward to at the show this weekend? Are you going to be there the whole time?
Yeah, we'll be there the whole time. Get there a day early. Meeting with some of the previous investors in our round. We're just really looking forward to kind of seeing a lot of these kind of kind of hobby experts face to face. I'm excited to meet with Chris and Josh from Card Ladder, and Christina, of course. I think they've been tremendous for the hobby. I'm really hoping to get introduced to Josh Luber and Fanatics, and kind of any sort of company that might actually have a potential partnership opportunity with us. So, looking really forward to meeting everyone. So.
And so you're probably aware there are several of these signature panel session discussions will be going on, some simultaneously, but I think there's going to be some good spread there. Are there any? Have you looked at that schedule and the agenda? And do you have any that you're, of course, obviously, aside from the ones that I'm going to be involved in, are you looking forward to any of those signature session panels?
Yeah, I think Suman and I will probably be attending most of those signature sessions. We'll have the rest of the team kind of working at the booth or walking the show floor, and then we'll do that kind of in between breaks. But we'll probably attend as many as we can. But I think the thing that I'm most interested in seeing is the one with, I think, Beckett, SGC, and PSA on the same one. I forget who's moderating that one, but that one should be fun to listen into. Yeah,
I think the person moderating that is one of the gentlemen from DCI, Dallas Card Investors.
Okay.
I believe. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I think it's titled The Future of Grading. So definitely interested to hear what those three organizations have to say about the future of grading. And I mean, really, it's the turnaround times and things like that. But Ichiro says, and CSG, I believe, but I don't see. Oh yeah, CSG is on it, PSA and Beckett. SGC was on the panel. Peter Steinberg's image was there. His image is no longer there. So I guess for whatever reason, SGC had to pull out of that panel. It's too bad, because to me, those are the big four grading companies. To have all four represented on one panel would be really cool. It's like a once in a lifetime, call it, sort of opportunity to see all four together. And from a curiosity perspective, what would the vibe be on that stage with the four main competitors all sitting beside each other? How do they relate to each other? It would have been really interesting to see. It'll still be cool with 3/4 of them there, but it would have been cooler if Peter would have been on that stage as well. And he's a very enigmatic and charismatic.
Really well spoken. Yeah, I've heard his interviews. Yeah.
Very well spoken leader of that company. He represents that brand very well. I would definitely say. T-Dot says that he's bullish hearing all this growth and innovation, and I think that's where we're at, right? Growth and innovation, and not everybody likes all the innovation. I mean, back to the VFriends product, which was innovative. Lots of pushback on that and that sort of thing. But again, as I've said before, I don't think it's representative of what we're going to see from Fanatics. It's its own division, if you will. So, but hey, we are not going to get into that right now. Todd McDonald says, what are your ideas for the collection portion of the app? Is the idea to have large collections uploaded?
Yeah, so we're actually learning kind of user behavior right now as we speak, right? So, very originally we thought that people might add maybe a max of 100 cards, and then realize that people were adding 2,000 or 3,000 cards. And for now, we don't actually have any sort of organizational features. We're trying to bring that to life soon, but we see a wide variety of different users, right? So we want people to be able to make custom lists in the future. I think our next step, we're going to add watch lists or wish lists in the future, so you can mark cards that you're tracking and then eventually be able to move it to your collections. But we're going to provide a lot of value for collectors, and we're going to look to add a bunch of features soon.
So, I mean, my recommendation to people watching or listening is obviously download the app and let them, be patient as they build it out. As the AI the machine learning continues to get better and better, and, check in with it every so often, because you're going to see what I love about Center Stage and John really as the co-founder and leader is that this is just something I'm passionate about when it comes to any company in my whole career, in or outside of the hobby, is just continuous improvement. And continuous improvement requires the user or the customer to check back every so often to see what's changed. And it makes me think of the Clubhouse app. Every week or two, you log into the Clubhouse, or you just open up the Clubhouse app, and it gives you a pop-up of what's new. What are the updates? I think that's something that would be really cool for you guys to do if you're not already, to offer that. Maybe once every week or two, you just give a summary of what's been updated over the last couple of weeks, or where have improvements been made. Some of them you're not going to notice because they're under the hood, but it's still cool to know that you guys are working behind the scenes. So that's my recommendation if you haven't thought of it already or not yet doing it. Bob's Big Boy says SGC is too busy grading cards in time and at a great price. It's a good answer, Bob. Good answer. And Skeppy says, does the app have any current or future abilities to scan a card and then help locate another similar card that a collector may be interested in?
Yeah, so that's something that we definitely want to bring as well. If you scan a card, when you get the result, you can actually swipe through a carousel. That's a future recommendation engine path that we can also look at, and maybe even be able to direct people to a different marketplace that might be selling a different parallel of that card or something similar to it, right? So a lot of potential value through the app there. So
I'm smiling because there's two comments in a row here that have me smiling. The first is from Justin Bick. He says, if John were a V friend, he would be an innovative Impala. And then Bob's Big Boy says, every time you guys say AI, all I can imagine is Allen Iverson running things at a tech company. Too good. And then T-Dot says, when I watched the SGC YouTube video on how they graded, I was very impressed. I'm curious, T-Dot, what in particular were you impressed with? Was it the people that you saw at the chair and how they were looking at the card under the microscope or the magnifying glass, or what was it in particular that impressed you? Genuinely curious, T-Dot, if you don't mind sharing. Purple Haze says a wish list and parallel recommendations would be great. Yeah, that parallel recommendations thing, because you get that on eBay, you get that on Amazon. Buyers who looked at this also like that. That could really help generate, especially any sort of referral sales that or revenues that you could integrate with an eBay type of platform or elsewhere. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. So let's just talk about the future now. We talked about what your ultimate goal was, but I know you've probably got a bit of a roadmap in terms of you've got all these ideas that are coming at you from all directions, including the chat on Sports Cards Live tonight. Are you guys mapping out this roadmap, and are you willing to share kind of what's at the top of the priority list right now for new features? And if you have competitive reasons not to, feel free not to get too much into it, but I want to give the opportunity to, if you're willing.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The very next feature that we're going to be releasing is user profiles. For now, all our collection data is being living on the user's device, and users can continue to use it that way, right? People who have privacy concerns, but we want people to be able to create an account later on and kind of upload their collection to be able to later on kind of add friends and be able to share their collections with others and find cards through that discovery mechanism, right? But like I mentioned before, we want to keep the app free and easy to use, and we don't want to deter anyone from using the app. So that'll be the next step. So user profiles. After that, it will be that networking aspect of it. But that trade aspect is the thing that we're really excited about. We want people to start using that in person at trade nights or at trade shows or card shows, where you can just scan the cards, build these trade proposals, and facilitate these trades later on and make it easier for people to do that. After that, we're going to see where the feedback takes us, right? If people are loving this feature and it can be brought online, maybe that's something that we'll do next. But yeah, I think the possibilities are endless, and I hate how cliche that sounds, but it's how we see it. So
Yeah, that's cool, man. No, I understand it. It is an exciting time in our hobby. I'm sure the possibilities are endless. It just takes development and imagination, development, money. It takes all these things to get it all done, right? So I'm sure you'll get there. Brendan Ryan says, imagine a day when card dealers at the National are all androids and with the very latest AI haggle programs. Yeah, imagine that. Mark, I'm glad to know you're still here. I have no questions, but I'm still here. Love it. Thank you very much for that. Oh, T Dot. So this is what T Dot liked about SGC: the machinery, the flow, and the sealing of the slab. So that one interests me. And I'm curious, T Dot, is it because it's like, what about it? I've seen slab, I've seen slab sealing before. I'm wondering, what about it? Because have you seen it before would be my question. Was it the first time you'd seen it? Or have you seen it before? And was there something that was different about SGC sealing than, say, another company whose slab sealing you had seen? If you don't mind, I'm curious about that one. Skeppy says, what activity outside the hobby do you use to rejuvenate innovative and creative ideas, John? What do you do to kind of get the creative juices flowing?
I think just being on the ground level as a collector, at least, kind of helped me develop the idea. I mean, the idea is not the most novel or most unique, right? I think image recognition has definitely always kind of been the future, right? But very lucky to kind of be on the pioneering end of it. I mean, I play a lot of basketball, but I've been able to build a great network through that, and luckily I met my co-founder. I met some investors through it as well. So I just kind of being always open to learning is the biggest benefit, I think. Yeah.
And getting some exercise never hurts, right? That's it. It's good for your physical and your mental health as well. Justin says, something tells me we won't be able to haggle prices from Android dealers. Jake wants to, can it detect fakes? We talked about that already, Jake, and that's something that they want to be able to see happen for the app. But right now, I think the answer is a simple no. Is that right?
Yeah, not yet. But that's definitely something that needs to happen, right?
Yeah, not yet. Better than no. Well, thank you for that. Yeah. Ichiro says, what are your thoughts on BGS's complete silence during the COVID shutdowns? I mean, a little off topic, I collect Ichiro, but that's okay. That's okay. My thoughts on it are that one of two things. First of all, their president, Jeremy Murray, is somebody who I know and respect and like. He's a really nice, likable dude. And so on the one hand, I want to say that, I think that they will, their silence might be indicative of them just kind of trying to get things done and then just release something or put out some news all at once that maybe is impressive or shows some sort of progress in what they're doing, backlog and that sort of thing. That's one sort of theory or perspective I could have. The other one is that it's hurt their brand. It has hurt their brand, and I think it's actually done significant damage to their brand. And I only say that because I've seen and heard lots of people say that not hearing from them is just not a good look. But I then heard Jeremy say that, they recognize that they've been a little bit quieter than others, and they are doing things behind the scenes. So once we find out what those things are, and maybe we'll find out at the Mint Collective. I look forward to seeing what Jeremy has to say at the event. So those would be my thoughts. John, we don't need to put you on the spot to answer that one.
Actually, I do have a little bit of perspective here that I was hoping to share, and I think
sure, by all means.
Yeah. So the job that I was in before, actually right before I left to do Center Stage full time, was I was the director of customer experience at Logitech, and I was running customer service for them globally, which meant leading all the customer service teams in different regions. And one thing that was really challenging when the pandemic hit was, all of a sudden, all people needed webcams, people needed microphones and headsets and gaming equipment because they're stuck at home all day. And I remember distinctly, like, in March of 2020, there was an influx of cases. So if you would say Logitech would get about 1 million cases per month, we're looking at 4 million cases, the very next month, right? And then, with the amount of team that we had, it was almost impossible to be able to get to everyone, right? So, I can only imagine all the people at PSA or BGS, like having to just deal with this influx of cards coming in because of how hot the hobby got. And getting through a backlog is never going to be that quick because you have to ramp up and add staffing and train, and it's unimaginable, right? So I kind of have some sympathy for these companies that kind of went through these growing pains, but I'm seeing a lot of improvement, I think, in terms of seeing content from like Ryan at GemRate kind of publishing all this data around like how many cards are being graded. I mean, it's very encouraging to see companies investing and growing to be able to account for the growth. So.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, maybe they're just being quiet because their heads down trying to get through their backlog and heads down trying to fix or improve their systems for go forward. But all that said, I think the hobby has been quite clear and vocal on wanting to hear from them. So they may just need to appease the hobby more and more and address the hobby's desire to hear from them. Purple Haze says, looking forward to using this app at the NAT. And he means the National Sports Card Convention, which will be in Atlantic City at the end of July of this year. Brian Basketballs, wait till you see vending machines kicking out graded cards that are inside with a video on the front with a 3D view of the card. There's some innovation and imagination right there, Brian. And who knows, this is probably being developed as we speak, right? You just never know. Ichiro, no problem for the off-topic question, and you're welcome for the follow-up. Eddie wants to know, what is being searched more on the app, raw or graded cards?
So it's a great question. We actually can't distinguish that at the moment, right? We don't take that much user data, but we just see cards being searched, and there's no nothing that distinguishes it on our end, right? So eventually we'll have.
I'm sorry, you're just not tallying it right now.
Right. We can't tell what's graded and what's not, right? So eventually we'll be able to scan a card and the associated grade and kind of provide more pertinent transaction data. But for now, we're just doing cards, period. We can't tell if it's graded or not.
That's all good. And then Justin Vick, maybe the comment of the night right here. I'm hoping Fanatics partners with the Food Network to make proper scratch and sniff cards because that's what we want to do. We want to scratch our cards and sniff them.
That's what Josh Luber said, right? In his white paper, he loved the tangible smell or something, or
he talked about the smell. He did. He talked about the smell of cards, and I mean, I can identify with that. So I get it. I like the comment, but then when I realized, as I was saying, I'm like, you scratch it, you damage the card. We are not, as the hobby is not really that fond of damaging the cards that they buy. Now, if they're just cheapy type of cards, then no big deal. But sometimes you can smell. I remember I used to have those scratch and sniff stickers when I was really young, the late 70s, early 80s. I thought those things were the bee's knees. Brian goes on to say, or a slot machine that you can win packs or boxes sponsored by the casinos. Yeah, for sure. Lots of funny ideas. And then what's Rock Latex says, any liability concerns with users using the app for authenticating raw cards once or if it becomes a feature?
I guess it's a difficult question to ask. It's a great question, actually. I think there definitely is a concern there. We just want to be used as a reference to kind of provide a little bit of guidance, right? That's the same thing when you scan a card. You're provided all these different price points. Because you're able to click on those transactions and kind of go to that site and go to eBay, for example, to be able to verify those transactions itself. We just present an easy way to get to that information. But something that we'll be looking at. But I think we're a little bit farther away from that feature. So.
All right, and the brainstorm is on here. Skeppy says a vending machine full of graded sports cards, a Snickers, and a black label. Sounds plausible. But then T-Dot responded about what impressed him about CSG or SGC on the video was the sealing the slab with heat from friction on their machine. Yeah, so T-Dot, that's what all the companies use to seal their slabs. And that's what I was wondering, if you had just never seen it before, which I'm now assuming you hadn't, but they all use those same machines to seal their slabs. So not to take anything away from SGC, but that is not unique to SGC, just as an FYI. Very cool. All right, well, we are at the hour 5 mark, and I'm through my notes. I'm running out of steam. I feel like I'm running out of voice. Is there anything we didn't cover that you wanted to share with the people who are watching? We've got a good crew right now. We'll have more people watch as the week goes on. So anything you'd like to any ideas, anything else you want to share, John?
No, I mean, again, I just appreciate the opportunity to be able to share the company and the vision. Hold on.
Are you gonna sneeze?
Yeah, so I had to clear my throat there. Sorry.
No problem.
No, appreciate the opportunity to join and kind of share our story. We're just hoping that more people can download the app, try it out, provide feedback, provide suggestions, and we want to again grow the hobby by presenting technology that people find useful, and that's our ultimate goal, right? We're just trying to benefit everyone at every single level. I think. I'll just get a little philosophical on my end. I think with the hobby, it's kind of shrunk a little bit over the past maybe 6 months or so, or maybe a year. I think there needs to be a really strong lower and middle end of the hobby for it to grow. And I think I've seen Michael Rubin's comments about wanting to grow the hobby 10x. We need more collectors in the space to have that start. People collecting the base cards that people are kind of shunning right now, to eventually be able to graduate into a higher tier of a collector to start chasing the grails, right? So, we're just trying to present technology that makes it easier for people to get into the hobby or get back into it, and then continue on with it. I think the tedious nature of typing things in is a thing of the past, and we're hoping people give us a try, and we'd love to kind of iterate from there. So, we'd love to hear from more people. We'd love to to help more. That's it.
Good, man. It's a good sort of mission, if you will. You mentioned that you just want to help the hobby, and what I say to every person who wants to hear what I have to say, who's in the hobby and trying to build the business, is if you look at things through the lens of the hobby, you should be on the right track. Most things you're doing, some things are just business or whatever, but when you're innovating, when you're developing, when you're offering a service, a product, a new feature, a spin on things, look at things through the hobby's lens, and I think you'll be on the right track. If you do things to help the hobby, you should be on the right track as well. So I commend you for that approach. I think it's a healthy approach. I think it's an approach that should lead to success. If the product and the service is good, and you combine that with that perspective, you're bound to be successful. So congrats on that. I'm going to go to a few final comments here just to get through them. T-Dot says popcorn scratch and sniff was big in the 80s. I can vouch for that. It sure was. I would have traded you all my grapes for your popcorn back then. I collect Ichiro. Will sales history be accessible for an unlimited time? I guess will it, or does it disappear after 90 days like it does on eBay?
No, so like for us, we try to display as many transactions as possible. We don't see ourselves as like an analytics company. We're presenting information that's kind of a more point in time measure. That's why we say we don't really compete with card ladder or market movers. We think that there's more utility for people to kind of have that information right away. But it depends on how many transactions there have been. If there's only been 10 transactions in the last year, that should continue to be displayed. But real estate's very limited on a mobile phone. So if it's transacted 100 times a day, then you're not going to be able to go too far back in history, right? So yeah.
Sounds good. So you got Android users are saying bring it on, baby, for sure. Brian says he's seen sales dates as far back as 2018 on Center Stage. That's great. Ichiro says always room for improvement. Skeppy says John definitely seems to have the skills to scale a technology business. Interested to see where this goes. Modern Crime and Cards, late night card talk, LFG. Very nice. I'm not going to say it, but very, very good. And there's a question about do you have a working relationship with eBay?
Not yet. Hopefully soon. And we've been in talks with them, and looking forward to seeing Bob and Jeff at the Mint. So
yeah. Good stuff. All right, we're going to wrap this up. So Thank you to everybody in the chat for joining on this late episode of After Hours with John Wie. He is the founder or co-founder, I suppose, of the Center Stage app, downloaded on Apple, coming hopefully later this year on Android. Follow them on Instagram at Center Stage HQ. John, and by the way, tomorrow on Collectible Live on the Collectible TV YouTube channel, I will be sitting down with Ezra Levine. He is the CEO of Collectible, and we will be talking about the Mint Collective. Bit of a preview for the show. Should be fun because he is very passionate and excited about the event, as am I. So looking forward to sitting down with Ezra tomorrow. Come join us 7 p.m. Eastern again on the Collectible TV YouTube channel. I am a sleepy sloth, Justin. You got it. You got it right there. Brendan, thank you very much. Eddie, thank you so much for joining. John, thank you for joining. This was fun. I'll see you next week in Vegas. Thank you, Brian. Basketballs. I will try to get to Dallas. Okay, that is it, guys. we're gonna end this. I'm gonna probably put in my earbuds and listen in if there's anything going on Clubhouse. And thank you, Purple Haze. Appreciate it. Ichiro, thank you so much. Great to have you join the Sports Cards Live community. John, you good? We're done?
Yeah, no, again, appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, thank you for the time, and looking forward to meeting you in person. I won't be too shy this time. So yeah.
Same here. Thank you, Mark. Thanks everybody else. We will see you all soon. Have a great week ahead, everybody. And that is it. This Saturday for Sports Cards Live. Wow, we did lots of shows, and I'm gonna stop rambling. So, but quickly, Investicard says, John, send me a DM on Instagram to schedule a meeting. There you go. Okay, guys, this episode is over. Thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your night, and good night.